and the translation of bill where money is made, begging as a productive activity among Romanian Cortorari Gypsies. Open a dictionary of any language and search for these two words, to work and to beg. For example, in the Oxford English Dictionary, for the entry to work, the first definition is to be engaged in physical or mental activity in order to achieve a result, while the definition under the verb to beg is to ask for food or money as charity or as gift. Folk understandings distinguishes between these two activities, with the first being positively conceived as attaining resources through effort, while the later as getting something for nothing, even if in its tolerant Christian understanding. To my knowledge, even the few anthropologists who approached begging complied with this folk model. Leonardo Piacere, for example, in one of his writings on Yugoslavian Horahane Gypsies involved in begging activities in Italy in the 70s, asserts that the simple act of begging requires no particular effort nor sophisticated knowledge. Now we are all familiar with this public discourse which attached the derogatory level of beggars to Romanian population. And my concern here is with Romanian gypsies who have been engaged in mobility in Western Europe and became a social problem, especially after Romania's inclusion in EU. And I would like to quote here the President of Romania, Traian Băsescu, who in 2010, in a conference held for reporting on the national strategy to improve Roma condition in Romania, said, "Let's be honest, we face a big problem when it comes to Romania's image. I invite you to travel to Paris, to Oslo, to Rome, to Milan. The Roma minority is everywhere present, at any corner of a street, in front of each and every museum. And they have no intention of visiting museums. They are there as beggars," Mr. President suggested. My presentation today is a contention against these two views, one that sees begging as getting anything as a free gift, and another one that sees begging as a gypsy-specific activity, as a cultural trait of this population. I will place at the core of my argument local representations and understandings of begging of a Roma population from Romania, among whom I carried out 2 years fieldwork. Therefore, the question I'm raising here is, how do gypsies themselves conceive of begging? The population of my study is a so-called traditional Roma community living in central Romania known as Cortorari. This population could be said to have all the characteristics that populate our exoticizing imagination about gypsies. Women wear colorful long skirts, men wear long beards and black feather hats, and they are famous coppersmiths. In the last decade, since they started being involved in mobility in Western countries, where from the bulk of their resources come, they raised imposing villas decorated with bright towers. Cortorari's main economic activity abroad is begging. Cortorari conceive of begging in Romania as work, and they use munca for this, that requires specific age differentiated gender skills deployed both in the verbal and bodily communication and peculiar knowledge, such as mental mapping of the territory doubled by intuition of its economic potential. For work, Cortorari use both the Romani expression kerelbuti and the Romanian word munca, whilst kerelbuti is used for designating tasks undertaken inside the household, either by male or female Cortorari, such as, for example, copper craft work for men, or cooking or pig husbandry for women. The word munca is mainly used to designate work undertaken outside the community. Furthermore, while kerelbuti designates especially manual labor that requires physical effort, which doesn't necessarily bring immediate earnings, munca, as closed by Cortorari, even if it demands physical efforts, brings immediate economic gains. Munca is especially used in contexts which make reference to money gains, such as in the expression lovem muncime, which is money derived from work or money gained through hard work. Cortorari live Romania in groups of 2 to 8 related people, people related both through blood and affinal ties. Decisions for living are taken on the spot. Individuals' determination being usually influenced by webs of relatedness in which the one who wish to depart are caught. Once a cluster of about 8 people decides to leave, they call a minibus driver who picks them up from their village and takes them to the desired destination. The length of staying abroad is not, as one would expect, predicted upon temporal criteria, but upon gains. Whenever I ask somebody, how long do you intend to stay abroad? The answer sounded something like 1 month, 2 months. I will see until I save, and the given amount of money came to fill in the answer. Thus, the projected earnings of a trip conditions its length unless any family problems occur at home entailing the individual's return, or encountering legal problems abroad, as well as having arguments with Cortorari one is abroad with, may determine unexpected decisions of returning home. Once at home, Cortorari stay longer here only if they have specific domestic tasks to accomplish, such as construction work at the house or marital arrangements to negotiate. In practice, Cortorari are always on the move, live and come unceasingly, irrespective of the season of the year. In September 2009, I accompanied a Cortorari family in one of their trips to Trento, northern Italy. Even if they all knew I undertook this trip for research purposes, they kindly accepted not only to initiate me in the art of baking, but also to share with me their outdoor sleeping places and their frugal meals, offering me both physical protection and emotional support through our 1 month stay in Italy. When Cortorari go abroad begging, they renounce their traditional costumes for worn-out blackish outfit. In this way, they believe they comply with general representations of beggars as barehanded, have not qualified for compassion and charity. In their opinion, Cortorari appearance in colorful dresses would necessarily engender potential donors' association of such an appearance with their well-off. Plus, they are aware of the general public misrepresentation of gypsies as criminal and thieves. It is not only in Italian context, recently underwritten by stereotypical prejudicial representations of gypsies, that Cortorari change their outfit when they go begging, but also in Romania, when begging is mainly a woman-centered activity. So Cortorari changed their traditional outfit for the begging outfit, which they consider to be a de-ethnicizing outfit. If back in Romania the so-called traditional outfit is imperative in publicizing gender, age and kinship statuses, and it's shameful for one person not to comply with the dressing code, abroad the rules that dictate the dressing code are suspended together with other constraints specific to social interaction at home. For example, even at funerals, they don't wear black clothes as their Romanian neighbors do. And a woman who is seen walking in a black dress inside the community lays herself open to curses. Even if Cortorari are always on the move, always going and coming from abroad, Hardly had I seen one dressed up as a beggar throughout my stay in the village. Cortorari put on their beggar outfits before leaving the village, and they arranged with the car driver to pick them up in front of their houses so that nobody would walk dressed up in black in the village. Changing the so-called traditional outfit for the begging clothes is a ritual any Cortorari undertakes before leaving abroad, compulsory accompanied by the washing up of the body. It usually takes place half an hour or 1 hour before the arranged time of departure. Nobody leaves before washing his body because there will be no more bath abroad, irrespective of the length of the stay. Firstly, because a stinky body is believed to be specific to beggars who transmit through their smell ideas of homelessness. Secondly, because Cortorari begging activity extends over a whole day, and shortening it with 1 hour, the time required for taking a wash in a public bath, may decrease earnings. Back in the village, cleanliness and nice smell of the body are moral standards one has to comply to, with dirtiness and stinkiness being the extremes of wrong conduct. Preoccupation with cleanliness of the body among Cortorari is also acknowledged outside the group, and it happened to me more than once to hear from doctors or nurses in hospitals that Cortorari are cleaner than peasants, than Romanian peasants. Cortorari try to keep their presence abroad invisible, both for local authorities and for other Roma. In Italy, they do not live in Roma encampments, in campi nomadi. Their living places are transient as their presence in this country. Cortorari only become visible yet undistinguishable from other beggars in the streets. A rewarding begging day needs to start early in the morning because division of the begging territory is usually negotiated upon the principle first come, first served. At 5 a.m., beggars gather together at the railway station in their provisional residential town for the morning coffee. People come in turn and greet shortly the already arrived, only to turn quickly the talk into the other's plans for the day. Seemingly, it is here, at the railway station, that the division and distribution of the begging territory is done. Even if disavowal of one's intentions in choosing a begging place for the day seems to be the social principle that gathers beggars at the railway station early morning, in practice their conversations follow the rules of secrecy. Everyone tries to conceal his destination for the day, and in case it happens that 2 or more individuals meet at the same begging place, priority is given to the one who has longer experience in time in the area. Thus claiming rights of ownership over a begging place are laid in direct ratio with the individual span of frequentation of the area. A person's waking up time is always an assertion of his determination in earning money. Yet industriousness is not the only ingredient that ensures a successful begging day. Knowledge about the economic potential of different places is also a prerequisite in the determination of somebody's gains. And this kind of knowledge is gained in time, mainly through personal begging experience. Among Cortorari, it is transmitted from person to person, usually inside the idiom of relatedness. Every newcomer, as it was the case with me, becomes an apprentice to an experienced beggar. Yet begging is a solitary activity and is practiced by 2 people at the most, only when one of the 2 is an apprentice who needs to be initiated in the geography of the territory by the other. Except from the above-mentioned initiation, it is believed that individual begging skills are specific to each person and are acquired through personal experience. To give you an example, communication in the language of migration country is an important capital that ensures the beggar's success in his productive activity. Begging styles are different from one individual to another. Some walk around, others sit, usually in front of a church, and the posture of the seated body suggests both humiliation and respect for the donors. Back in Romania, I could often hear the saying, the way one begs, nobody can emulate. So some pretend they have twisted arms, others, I don't know, shiver their heads and so on. The thing is that it is imperative for cortorari to be able to maintain the difference between the begging and non-begging body. If they offer vague value dysfunctional bodies that bend, bandiol, for their capacity of earning money in begging, outside the confines of this economic activity of begging, they appreciate healthy, straight bodies. Even if most donors or only passers-by associate beggars in Italy with gypsies, thus ethnicizing them, cortorari believe that they take up a de-ethnicizing appearance when they practice begging, the same as in the case of boxers from a black ghetto in Chicago studied by Vacan, whose processes of fabrication de-racialize bodies, contrary to the dominant politics of racial representations. Money earned from begging on a daily basis, the spare change, glossed as lei or hoarding, small spare change, have a short-lived existence and is converted in paper currency, euro, at the end of the working day. The paper money, saved and voided at any sphere of circulation abroad, is brought home where it becomes countable locally. In a nutshell, I argued that for cortorari gypsies, begging is a form of dis-embeded economic activity, and I would invite you to imagine us as living in a capitalist world and put on a smart costume to go to our jobs, of which we conceive as being regulated by pure economic contracts, and as opposed to the moral economy specific to the family or the ideal of relatedness. In the same way, cortorari put on their begging costumes and go abroad begging. They represent begging as a productive activity, as work which requires a strenuous training of the body and peculiar knowledge, which could nonetheless be achieved by anybody, irrespective of age, gender, or ethnic identity. And by way of conclusion, I would like to quote one of the cortorari woman who once told me, when I go begging, I strain my nerves and I work with my arms. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, questions and comments, please. Be brief.
You didn't describe the group, so you said just cortorari. What about the age distribution and gender balance? Are there more women? What about children in the group?
Unmarried women don't go, I mean, children don't go begging, and unmarried women don't go begging, because they consider abroad to be a dangerous place, and they don't want to get in trouble with the police abroad, so it's not a question of them taking their children and use them as beggars in the street.
What about the age limits?
It's, let's say, 14 to 17. 14 being the marriageable age in the community.
Okay, please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. I was very curious about, you said that they see begging as a productive activity, so it's a job more or less for them. But they do know for sure how the society sees begging. How do they, what's their stance in this position? How do they see begging? How do they see themselves as the act of begging in the eyes of the other?
This is a very good question. Because, yeah, I will tell you my story. They challenged me believing I won't be able to beg because I'll be ashamed of begging. The fact is that shame for them, the same as honor, are very important concepts, like which are core concepts only inside the community. In relation with the others, they are not ashamed, because there is this, you know, that they conceive of the others as different, as gaje, and they are not ashamed. And well, they are all aware that the others see. I mean, especially in Italy, because most of them go begging in Italy because they are all aware that people who offer some money believe they will gain a place in heaven or something. They are all of these Christian course. So yeah, they somehow play with the others' representations of begging.
Okay, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for a really interesting presentation. I thought it was really interesting to hear. I was wondering about, because I work with human trafficking between Romania and Italy, and very often the discourse about trafficking has a lot of focus on prostitution, but there's also many cases also with my informants that are exploited in begging or in forced labor and different kinds. So I was very interested to hear more about the organization of this, because the way you describe it is very much a family situation, that a family goes together, or if you've had any experiences in this regard.
Every time the policemen stand me up in Italy when I was begging, and I was telling them I was an anthropologist, they were asking me the same questions. So why they organized as mafia? I mean, at least with this group of gypsies, it's only a kind of a family business. It's true that sometimes they employ like lower gypsies with the lower economic status. They employ them to go begging for them, for cortorari, but like the others don't feel exploited because they gain a monthly wage for this, which they won't be able to get in Romania. They won't afford a trip abroad as well. And I wouldn't call it exploitation. I mean, people don't feel it like this, but it's a kind of a family-run business. It's not a big network.
No, but it doesn't have to be a big network. It doesn't have to do anything normally. It doesn't have anything to do with the mafia. It can be a very small scale. But okay, thanks.
Yeah. Well, please, Cipriano, and then.
Okay, thank you, Catalina, for your excellent presentation. So you invited us to consider begging not only as a kind of productive activity, but as a kind of work. So probably it implies some kind of ethics of the work, based probably again on an argument like as long as you do well what you're supposed to do, you have some kind of virtue or virtuosity. But the problem is, whatever they think they're doing when they're begging, can you provide a larger framework in which the concept of working can be accommodated with somehow I'm reformulating a previous question. Can you provide a larger framework in which this begging as work can be accommodated with the economic and social general framework?
This is the next PhD.
Yes, sure, but I mean, do they consider this issue or not? Because definitely they can do very well what they're supposed to do, but do they consider this issue?
Not necessarily. I mean, if I challenge them, I mean, I saw, like in Italy, when we went begging, we were offered jobs to work in agriculture, and they saw that kind of work as exploitation because they would have to wake up. I mean, for me, begging was much more difficult than doing any other kind of physical work, but they wanted to be their bosses. That's.
Well, a last question, please. Sorry for being harsh, but that's it.
I'm very much related to your question. very much for this question. I like your work very much. I think it's so important to see it from inside. How do they think about their activities? Some anthropology studies speak about labeling the money which are getting from different kind of activities. So it might help to answer the previous question. Can they use this money that they gain or earn from begging for example, paying the dowry for marriage?
It's what they use it for. They usually, they don't spend any of this money in Italy for food or cigarettes or anything. They live on food from the garbage, or they beg for cigarettes, and they invest all this money on the local marriage market.
So it means to me that it's money gained from pure economic activity, so not like dirty money, because if you know some American African studies differentiate between money labeled gained from kind of dirty economic activities, which can be used for kind of sacred purposes. So for me, it really helps a lot able to answer this question, because I think as what I've read from you, they don't really think of concepts about what work means, like whether it has any social benefit for others or something. For me, they have that there is material gain for themselves, and it's not they never think of parasites or something.
Plus, in Italy, they don't invest any of this money in socializing us or in throwing up parties or in this kind of activities that they do in Romania, because they are not. I see their begging activities as a suspension of their communitarian life. They go there, get the money, and bring it and use it in the community with the marriage market, especially. Because otherwise, it would be from copper artifacts when they sell copper artifacts, because they are inside the community and the demand sharing is great. Your neighbors come and say, well, you sold that pot, just offer me a drink, and you have to offer it. While when you are abroad, only with your family, you don't have to obey to these rules.
Well, sorry, I think we have to stop here. And